Hi everyone, and welcome back to Coachy TV. This is going to be the first of a two-part series on lactic threshold, or what a lot of people call tempo workouts. In this first part of this first video, we'll talk about sort of the science behind what lactic threshold is, why you would do some of these workouts, and in the second part, we'll talk about creating some specific workouts. So I am Kyle Giacono. I am the head boys cross country and track coach at Wharton High School and have been for the last 6 years, Wharton High School in Tampa. If you want to take a look at my credentials, they're on the screen. So taking us back through something we started looking at previously, and if you missed our video on calculating VO2 max and workout paces, it's in the description down below, as well as our last two videos on aerobic threshold or easy pace running. But just as a reminder, there are 4 main field tests, and we're going to talk about using the Astron protocol to create these workout paces. This is 2 miles to exhaustion. So if we were to use our scenario we've been using for the last few videos, 2 miles, best effort, and let's say we have a kid who ran 10:30, so they have a current date pace VVO2 max, or the velocity at which their body reaches maximum oxygen consumption, is 5:15. That would be their date pace. We are dealing with 315 seconds to use to create these workouts. So if we were to first look at a lactic threshold or a fast tempo, this is defined as about 85% of the current date pace VVO2 max. So you take 315, you divide it by 0.85, you're dealing with 370 seconds. So that means that this kid is at lactic threshold at 6 minutes and 10 seconds. Typically for this kind of workout, I'll give them like an 84 to 86% range, so it's not so tight of a window like that. But there's also something called a moderate tempo, or just an easy type tempo workout. This is at 78 to 82% of current date pace VVO2 max. So same sort of scenario, you divide 315 by 0.78 and 315 by 0.82, and you can give them a range for a moderate tempo of 654 to 624. So let's talk a little bit about what is lactic threshold running. So essentially, this is the point where the human body creates and clears acid or lactic acid equally. It also marks where the body goes from making energy only aerobically to having a significant contribution from the anaerobic system. Aerobic energy is produced slower, but it's more efficient and also creates easy to deal with waste products. So aerobic respiration, it's going to use 1 molecule of carbohydrates to make 38 molecules of ATP. ATP is what your muscles use for contraction. It's all energy in your cells. So that's much more efficient in terms of using your fuel sources. And as it mentioned on the screen there, it only creates the waste products of CO2, which you get rid of with just normal breathing, and water, which your body gets rid of a little bit as you breathe each time. But obviously that's a waste product that is only a waste product for this type of respiration. Your body can use it for other processes. But then, as we said, there's a significant contribution at lactic threshold running from the anaerobic system. And the anaerobic system we're talking about is the one that's longer than 6 to 7 seconds. We'll talk about the difference of anaerobic systems in future videos. But for right now, this is that longer anaerobic system. Anaerobic energy production is much faster, much faster, but it burns much more glucose. It's not nearly as efficient, and it creates more difficult waste products to deal with. So when you burn or you make energy anaerobically this way, you're going to use 1 molecule of carbohydrate to create 2 molecules of ATP, versus the aerobic system that creates 38 molecules of ATP for 1 molecule of carbohydrates, but it's much faster, so it's faster burning energy. And the other issue is this waste product that's created. And here's a picture of what lactic acid looks like. And really, the way your body creates it is it makes lactic acid, but that only lasts in your body for about maybe a quarter of a second, and then your body splits it off into 2 different molecules, into lactate, which is most of the right-hand side of this molecule. And the real problem that comes with this type of running is this guy off to the side. This is one single hydrogen ion. This is what creates acid in your muscles. This makes it acidic. The lactate, everything off to the left-hand side of that little hydrogen ion, actually your body can use. It can move it back into your liver and create more carbohydrate from later on. And really the lactate isn't a problem. It can cause some swelling in your muscles long term. So if you have a ton of it, it can cause an issue, but really it's that guy off to the right that can really cause the problem long term. This is what causes jelly-legged feeling if you have too much of this in your working muscles. So lactic threshold running, your body is creating and clearing this equally. We're going to do a whole series of videos on how your body kind of deals with this, but essentially your aerobic system needs some of that H plus ions, the acid, off to the side for its own respiration. It's kind of an interesting thing that when in balance, these things work together. And lactic threshold running is characterized by the fact that this is supposed to be in unison. So that's why that 85% number is really important if you're going to run right at lactic threshold, and why you really wouldn't want to go faster than that point at this point in your training. So again, don't freak out at this. We looked at this with aerobic threshold running. Aerobic threshold off to the right, these are slower paces, and all the way off to the left are faster paces. If you want to think the VO2 max, or maximum oxygen potential, or your body's use of it, is at this type of workout. This is about a 2-mile pace. And we're going to be dealing with, in this energy continuum, right here for a moderate tempo, about 78 to 82%, and then right here for 85% for your fast tempo. So if you take a look at this energy continuum, lactic threshold type runs are typically characterized as a medium pace workout, all the way off to, as you go further out, you've got things like mile pace and 800-meter pace, but this is more of a medium pace type of workout. One of the problems that you can have, though, with especially lesser trained kids, and we talked about an aerobic threshold running, how all the way off here, this is your easy pace kind of workouts right here. The lesser trained a kid is, the closer these lactic threshold paces actually get to their aerobic threshold. Just because they've been less trained, they have less ability to create energy aerobically, so they're going to have a more significant contribution from their anaerobic system earlier on. So just keep that in mind. The lesser trained, the kids with a lower training age, may have more of a problem with more of these faster pace tempo type runs. But this does improve with training, and the more you train a kid, the closer their true lactic threshold will get to that 85% or the fast tempo type of pace. These are workouts that can be done if you look at the bottom of this continuum. Typically they're done between 20 and 40 minutes, but they can be done for out to 60 minutes. Typically speaking, your 85% or your tempo pace is close to where your 10K pace is going to be, or something you could hold for up to an hour. This chart recommends 20 to 40 minutes. I think that's a good starting point. You could go out to 60 minutes, but you'd have to decide why you would do this. So you're going to try and balance the adaptations that you're looking for from your kid with the recovery periods. The real issue that you're going to have when you start running faster than aerobic threshold, or faster than 70% of your current VVO2 max at your date pace VVO2 max. So a moderate tempo is faster, so your body's going to be needing to rely more on carbohydrates to fuel itself. It can't use fat at these faster paces, just because even though fat is really good at storing energy, your body can't use it at these faster paces. And 78 to 82, a moderate tempo, and definitely a fast tempo at 85%, is just too fast for your body to use much, if any, fat to supply it. So part of your recovery timetable is going to be how long it's going to take your kid to restore its stored glucose. You're going to be burning a lot of stored glucose. Well, first the glucose in your bloodstream it's going to go to first, and then your stored glycogen in your liver and the working muscles. So that's going to be sort of how long you're going to want to do these workouts, and how long in between this and other higher paced workouts you're going to have to balance out between your kid. I'll do a whole workout series on how to sequence some of these things in together and how long these types of workouts take. But for right now, we're still just looking at the science of what is lactic threshold and some of the adaptations you're looking for. One last point here. This is going to be about 150 to 180 beats per minute. If you want to give them a check, you can give them the paces that we talked about earlier, but you can also have them check their heart rate. Just have them put their two fingers right up against their carotid artery on either side of their neck as they're running, and just count for 10 seconds. 25 to 30, and you're in that 150 to 180 range. And you want to get them used to checking this. If you want them to be doing a moderate to a fast tempo, this will come in more with a moderate tempo, you don't want them to be giving you numbers of 23, 24. If your design is to give them a tempo workout, it needs to be medium pace, so it shouldn't be in those more aerobic threshold type of heart rates, which is 130 to 120 to 150. So get them used to checking that. But on the other hand, you don't want them telling you that their heart rate, if they check it in 10 seconds, is coming back at 33, 34. That's just too high. And that would give you an indication that maybe these are lesser trained kids that aren't quite ready for these faster paces. You may want to bring them down just a little bit more to a moderate tempo. Or maybe this is an indication that their moderate tempo is actually much, much faster because they're just lesser trained. Their body doesn't have the ability to create energy at this pace yet. That'll give you a good point to figure out where their workout intensities need to be. These workouts do need to be done a little bit more by feel. One kid's tempo pace is going to be different than somebody else's based on their training age. So, what are the designed adaptations of a lactic threshold / tempo type of workout? They are threefold, and these are very similar to aerobic threshold running. In the cardiovascular system, this is exactly the same adaptations that you're looking for from aerobic threshold run, which is after 20 continuous minutes, your body releases a protein-like hormone that causes your heart to get a little bit bigger, and specifically the left ventricle, the pump of your heart, to get bigger. It's also going to decrease your resting heart rate. It's going to increase your stroke volume and increase the cardiac output. Basically, it's moving more blood is what those two numbers basically mean. It's going to increase blood flow. It's going to flow better throughout your body. It's going to increase the amount of blood you have, the volume, and improve that blood composition. You're going to have more ability to carry blood on, more oxygen on the blood itself. Now, highlighted here, or the yellow, is going to be things that are different with a tempo run versus an easy pace aerobic threshold run. And again, if you didn't look at our videos on aerobic threshold, they're in the description down below. And then also the bolded and underlined ones are things that are done much better at this pace versus an easy pace run. So the only thing we've seen so far that's different is muscular system wise is the oxidative fast twitch muscle fibers are going to have increased aerobic abilities at this pace. So generally speaking, and this is definitely an overgeneralization, is your body has three muscle fiber types. You have slow twitch aerobic type muscle fibers, and those aren't going to really change. You have those, and you can only enhance what you have. You have the super fast twitch ones that don't use really oxygen at all, and this is what more of your sprinters are going to have. But then there are ones that are right in the middle that can be changed in terms of how they respond to the workouts you give them. So these ones that can be either fast twitch if you give them really fast type of workout training, or they can be asked to work more like an aerobic type of a workout, aerobic type of muscle fiber, slow twitch, and these are the ones that at a tempo pace are going to get that adaptation. For your more distance kids, this is really one of the things that you are looking at from a tempo run. So they're going to act more like slow twitch aerobic muscle fibers. And these things are the same as an aerobic threshold run. Slow twitch muscle fibers are enhanced. Increased capillaries. Your body's going to build more capillaries again after 20 continuous minutes. You're going to be able to move more blood because you have more blood vessels. Increased mitochondria size, number, and surface area. And mitochondria are so interesting, they're going to get their own video here in the future. And then you're going to have enhanced running economy. This is done better at this intensity, and running economy basically just means that your body is better at using some fuel sources. You're more economical, just like a more economical car is going to use less gasoline to get certain areas. It's done with better use of fuel sources. There's also some better spring back from the muscles at faster intensity. That's better trained with things like plyometrics or jumps-based training, which we'll do some videos on here in the future. But you get a little bit more from these faster paces, and just better coordination. Faster pace, your body has to get better at contact and ground negotiation and those types of things, and that's done better at this sort of medium pace tempo type lactic threshold running versus slow easy pace aerobic threshold running. Now, metabolic systems, the thing that you're going to have here different is from an easy pace run is increased ability to remove lactate. Lactic acid. And again, really, it's just the acid part that's the issue. So if your body is able to produce and clear it in unison, your body's going to get better at draining out that acid and using it for the aerobic system's fuel source. You're also going to have increased fat storage in use as well as increased glycogen storage in use. Your body's going to do a better job of storing glycogen or store glucose by working muscles as a tempo run versus an aerobic threshold run. Aerobic threshold run does both of these things, but tempo run does the second part a little bit better of storing glycogen. You do have to be careful though because you're burning more glycogen too, so it's sort of a trade-off here. It will get better at doing it, but only if you're doing it at the right amount and giving them the recovery timetables. You're also going to have increased aerobic enzymes, volume, and activity. Your body's better able to use energy aerobically because it's moving these fuel sources more efficiently. A lot of these changes are, as I said, similar to aerobic threshold runs, so you still need these 20 continuous minutes. If you're doing a tempo run for 10 minutes, you're really not getting benefit here. You need that 20 continuous minutes. And you need to weigh the benefits that are exclusive to tempo running to aerobic thresholds when picking this type of workout over another. Don't overdo them. The next video I'm going to release here tomorrow will talk about how you could do these workouts, how many you might do in a week, and that kind of thing. But just make sure you need to look at what your kid needs and figure out do the benefits of a tempo run outweigh just the benefits they would get from an aerobic threshold run. If you like this video, think about liking it down below or maybe subscribing to the channel. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them down below. I'd love to answer any of them. Until next time, this has been Coachy TV, and we will see you next time.